What's up, YouTube? It's Comic Books NYC. Back here with another video, and this time I'm going to do a first, which is have a whole video without showing you a single book, because these are the books that I want to potentially add to my collection in 2019. It's my 2019 wish list, goal list, whatever you want to call it. So this is a video that I probably was going to make no matter what, but also want to shout out my buddy Tony Sanders, who's doing a 400 subscriber contest right now, and he's well past 400 subscribers, but the contest runs until mid-February, I believe. I'll put the details in the description, and essentially he wants you to show 5 books that you want to get in 2019. I'm going to show a little bit more than 5, but I am going to take myself out of the running to win that contest or officially enter that contest, even though I'm doing this video, because Tony is hooking me up in his contest and making subscribing to my channel one of the rules. So thank you, Tony. That has been amazing, and it's really helping my channel grow, so I really appreciate that. But regardless, here are my wish list books, my goal books for 2019 in comic book collecting. So let's get it started. Alright, so as I said, I'm not going to be showing any actual books today because I don't have any of the books for the most part that I'm about to talk about. But I will try to do some editing so that some stock images or whatever of the books can show up on the screen. We'll see how that works out. But I do have some backing boards here where I sort of wrote out my targets, and I organized it based on title. So let's start with Daredevil. So these are my Daredevil goal books for 2019. So starting with of course, Daredevil #1, the first appearance of Daredevil, the first issue of the title, classic Silver Age major key issue. I've also wrote out here next to the book numbers, names and titles and numbers, the target grades that I'm going after based on current fair market value and what I think I could swing maybe next year. And of course, that's all subject to change, but for Daredevil #1, I'm shooting for anywhere between a 4.0 to a 5.5. Of course, I'm looking for a good deal. With the recent cancellation of the Daredevil Netflix series, I am selfishly, hoping for a little bit of softness in this title. So probably a little too early to tell. So I doubt I will be pulling the trigger on this book in Q1. But maybe sometime Q2, Q3, based on the price trajectory of the book, I might be ready to pull the trigger on that and add that to my collection, which will be a pretty awesome get for next year. And then the other title that I want in the Daredevil series, the other issue, is Daredevil 168, which is, of course, the first appearance of Elektra. It's also the first Frank Miller written issue. It's when he starts, not only does he do the art, but he starts writing on the title as well at issue number 168. And of course, he created Elektra. He was just doing the art on the previous 10 issues, so 158 to 167. So 168 is a seminal moment for that series, not only with Elektra, but just, the true beginning of the Frank Miller dual art and story combo there. So this book's interesting because of the importance of the Elektra character and Frank Miller's relationship to the character. I really would love to find this book in a signature series, Yellow Label. I put that in parentheses there underneath the issue number, but it's not absolutely necessary, but I would prefer to find it with a Frank Miller signature on there. And I'm targeting anywhere between a 9.4 to a 9.8 for that issue based on current fair market value prices. So there you go. That's my Daredevil goal list for 2019. And next, we're going to go look at the Batman / Detective Comics targets that I got for 2019. So let's start with Batman 251. So this is a classic Bronze Age Neil Adams Joker cover. It's a very recognizable Batman title from the Bronze Age. Probably, a close toss-up between 251 and 227, which I already have, which is the Tech 31 homage cover by Neil Adams. Which is more recognizable, but I don't have 251. It's a book I've always wanted to get. I think I can swing somewhere between an 8.0 to a 9.0 based on current prices. So definitely a book I'm going to be looking to add to my collection next year. And then for the rest of my Batman goals, I'm not really getting too specific. Batman is a pretty pricey title, especially when you're talking about getting into older books like Silver Age and Golden Age. So I essentially have written down here Golden Age Batman, good deal. Golden Age Tech, good deal. And basically what I mean by that is I'm looking for good prices, low grades mostly, for well presenting but low grade Golden Age Batman issues and Golden Age Detective Comics issues to add to my collection next year. Okay, and then the next title we're going to be looking at for my goals is Star Wars. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm going to be going to Star Wars Celebration next year in Chicago in April. So if anybody out there is going to be there, let me know. Hit me up. Love to meet up, talk comics, talk Star Wars. But, it's something that I haven't been as focused on in my collecting. I do have, a few key issues, and I do have a Star Wars #1. But in 2019, I'm really looking to target these keys for my Star Wars collection. So starting with Star Wars #1, which is a book that I already have, but basically I wrote Star Wars #1 upgrade. So I'm looking to upgrade my current copy, which is an 8.5 CGC, and I want to upgrade that to a 9.6 to a 9.8. So I'm really looking for as high grade of a copy as I possibly can get for the best price I can possibly get, the best deal. So that's at the top of the list. And then also sort of at the top of the list, which is a much bigger challenge, is going to be finding that Star Wars #1 35-cent price variant. That's the rare Holy Grail Star Wars key issue. And basically for the target grade, I just put down whatever I can find /get. And the reason behind that is the price for that is just ridiculous in almost any grade. And they're just not that frequently on the market, or if they are, they're pretty out of my price range most of the time, or at least not necessarily out of my price range, but not in the range that I really feel like I'm getting a deal. So I think there's only about 200 and change of those on the census, on the CGC census. So and who knows how many actually exist, but is one of the rarest books from the Bronze Age that's considered a holy grail or a major key. No Star Wars comic book collection would be complete without it. So that is going to be a big priority for me to track down next year as well. And then finally, to rounding out the Star Wars targets, I've got Star Wars issue number 42, which is the first appearance of Boba Fett in comics and the first full appearance of Yoda in comics. So that's I'm targeting a 9.6 to a 9.8. Probably leaning more towards a 9.6 because you're going to pay quite a premium for a 9.8 in that book. But if I can get a good deal on a 9.8 and not feel like I'm overpaying, I would probably pull the trigger on it. So there you go. That's my Star Wars list. And then the final specific title that I am targeting is, of course, my all-time favorite, which is Spider-Man. So we've got Amazing Spider-Man here. This is my target list. So starting right off the bat, I've already got Amazing Fantasy 15 covered, so I have the first appearance of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, but I do not have Amazing Spider-Man #1, which is the first Spider-Man in his solo title, also the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson. So this book is really heated up quite a bit, especially as AF-15 has kind of gotten out of the price range for most people, and it's the next in line. So it's not even far off right now from those kind of prices. So I definitely will be looking at low grade, and I basically put down here anywhere from between a 2.0 to a 4.0. It's kind of the range that I'm looking at. So there you go, ASM #1. So next on the list is ASM 50. Of course, he's got that iconic John Romita cover, probably one of the most recognizable covers in the entire ASM run. And it's also, of course, the first appearance of Kingpin. So I am targeting a 7.5 to 8.0. I might even, increase that to some degree if I can swing it, and if I can get a good deal. So I'm looking for a higher grade copy of that. I almost pulled the trigger several times on that book in 2018 this year, but I just every time it just didn't quite feel right because I wanted a higher grade copy than the one I was looking at, and so I just held off. So that's another book that's really going to be near the top of my priority list next year, ASM 50, a classic. So next up, we've got, this is kind of more of a blanket target. So I've written ASM 2 through 14, and really all I'm looking for is a good deal for a low grade book. Most, preferably raw, because I don't want to pay the current, CGC prices for some of these, because this is one of the pricier titles, and I've got a lot of big books on my target list overall. So if I can find these books in good condition, complete, raw, and get a good deal for 2 through 14, I'm gonna be jumping on it in 2019. May not get all of them. I may get 2 and 10, or 4 and 14, whatever. Right? It's more of just a little stretch that I'm targeting, and I don't necessarily know which specific books I'll get. It's got to be the right book for the right price. And then finally, ASM 300. This is a book that that I thought I would have had by now, but it has eluded me for the right grade and the right price. I didn't really want to buy into it on the way up, or at the peak leading up to the Venom movie. Of course, this is the first full appearance of Venom. So, I'm essentially looking for a better time to pull the trigger on this book, and maybe by the time next summer rolls around, like the Venom stuff will have died down. I don't know. I'm just gonna be following the price movement on this book, and I'm targeting anywhere from a 9.0 to a 9.6 based on hopefully where the fair market values will be at the time next year. So that's it. Those are my 4 titles that I'm targeting. But I added one other book which is on my list, and I'm calling it my stretch goal list, or my stretch pick. And of course, this is my absolute holy grail from the Golden Age, and arguably the most iconic Alex Schomburg Golden Age comic book cover, and that's of course Startling Comics 49, which has the robot holding the good girl, the blonde, in the famous pose that essentially has been copied throughout comic book history ever since. And just an iconic cover, and essentially it's my Alex Schomburg Golden Age Holy Grail book, and it's very scarce, I guess. I missed out a couple times in 2018, and I just didn't feel right at the price, so it's a very hard book to acquire, and that's why I put it under this stretch list a stretch goal list. And as far as the grade target, targeting anything that I can get that I feel good about the price, but preferably a 5.0 and lower, because it's going to be pretty pricey to acquire this book. So there you go, guys. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many books that was. There's a little bit of room for interpretation there on how many books I'm targeting next year. And you might be saying to yourself, man, this is probably going to cost you a fortune to get all these books. And yeah, I mean, these are some pretty pricey books that I'm targeting that are on my goal list. And as a collector, I've decided that these are really what I want to go after. And this is, and these are the books that I really want to add to my collection. And I'm going to be making changes with the way I collect. I'm going to be putting books up for sale to help me collect and acquire and afford to be able to afford some of these books. So, if you've seen my books on any of my videos, if you've seen my Instagram, if you're interested in any books I have, please hit me up on Instagram, at Comic Books NYC. Let's have a conversation. I am looking to move, potentially a significant amount of my books that aren't part of the key titles, characters, artists, and things that I want to collect long term. So I kind of have a better understanding of what I can let go of and what I absolutely want as a collector now. And I am essentially very, very much open to figuring out deals. If you have any of these books that I've talked about and you're looking to move them, hit me up also on that, and let's have a conversation, because I pretty much have my mind set on these as being my book goals for next year. And I'm willing to play ball with what I got and being able to make it work and not just go totally out of my own pocket to get some of these books. I'm going to use my collection to grow my collection, and that's going to be my strategy in 2019. So there you go. Hopefully at the end of next year, I'll have another video where I can sort of compare this side by side and see where I ended up. Hoping it's a fruitful year, and I'm hoping it's a fruitful year for everybody else out there. And I hope you guys get what you want to get and have a good time doing it. All right? Have a good one. Later on.